Guys, this one gets wild fast. Humans stay calm, aliens get scared, and space is never the same again.
The first warning sign was not an explosion, a weapons lock, or a declaration of war. It was silence. 317 military vessels from a Dominion assembly crossed into the outer edge of human territory expecting resistance protocols, automated defense signals, or at the very least frantic diplomatic traffic. Instead, every communication relay beyond the border suddenly went dark. Not damaged, not destroyed, simply gone. Admiral Sir Eric Von stood on the command platform of the Dreadnought Ascendancy and watched an entire region of mapped space vanish from the tactical grid. Thousands of navigation markers blinked out one by one, until only empty blackness remained. No ships, no stations, no civilian movement, nothing. The bridge crew shifted uneasily as long-range scanners swept the sector again and again, desperately trying to understand how 12 inhabited systems could disappear in under 20 seconds. Human colonies had occupied those worlds for decades. Mining cities, trade ports, orbital elevators, industrial moons, entire populations. Yet the sensors now showed only cold vacuum. Cloaking technology, one officer whispered. No, another replied nervously. This is something else. Admiral Vaughn did not answer. His 4 eyes remained fixed on the tactical display while unease crawled slowly beneath his armored skin. The Dominion had encountered younger civilizations before. They always reacted the same way when confronted by superior fleets. Panic, desperation, fear. Humanity had reacted with absence. That disturbed him more than open hostility ever could. Behind him, the diplomatic overseer adjusted her ceremonial robes and spoke with practiced calm. Continue advance formation. Earth understands the situation. They know resistance is pointless. Von wanted to agree. By every measurable standard, she was correct. The Dominion Assembly controlled nearly a quarter of explored space. Their fleets had ended rebellions, shattered empires, and forced entire species into compliance without sustaining meaningful losses. Humanity was young, isolated, and technologically behind in almost every civilian category. But none of that explained the silence. The Ascendance's central scanner pulsed again. Still nothing. Not even debris. A strange pressure settled over the bridge as though the fleet itself had crossed some invisible threshold. Officers who had spent their lives in warfare suddenly spoke quieter. Movements became restrained. Careful, instinctive, like prey entering another predator's territory. Then the transmission arrived. No encryption battle. No signal distortion. It appeared directly on every command screen simultaneously, bypassing military security as though the fleet systems had willingly opened the door. A human woman appeared against a dark background. No insignia. No visible rank. No attempt at intimidation. She looked calm enough to be delivering weather reports. Dominion Fleet, she said evenly, you are approaching restricted space. The diplomatic overseer gave a faint smile. At last. She stepped forward confidently. I am Overseer Tauren of the Dominion Assembly. We are here to negotiate humanity's integration into galactic governance. Your continued expansion without oversight has become unacceptable. The woman listened without expression. No anger, no fear. That somehow made it worse. Our terms are generous, Tauren continued. Humanity will retain internal autonomy while surrendering military authority to the Assembly. Your colonies will be monitored for security purposes. In return, your species will receive protection, trade access, and formal recognition. Silence followed. Not the silence of hesitation. The silence of evaluation. Then the human woman asked a question so strange that several officers exchanged confused looks. Did your assembly ever investigate why humanity stopped building cities on planetary surfaces? Tauren frowned slightly. Irrelevant. No, the woman replied softly. It became relevant 7 to 2 years ago. Admiral Vaughn felt his stomach tighten. Behind the woman's image, something moved in the darkness. Not a person. Something enormous. Before he could focus on it, alarms detonated across the bridge. Massive gravitational fluctuation detected. Sector 9 just vanished from deep-range scans. So, one of the moons near the border. The officer stopped speaking entirely. Vaughn toned sharply toward the tactical display. A moon was gone. Not destroyed. Not shattered. Gone. And then, slowly, impossibly, an object larger than cities began rising from the darkness where the moon had once been. The object emerging from the darkness did not resemble a warship. That was the first thing Admiral Vaughn noticed as the impossible structure rose slowly into scanner range. Dominion vessels were built with visible purpose. Weapons mounted externally. Engine systems exposed through armored channels. Every military ship in known space projected violence openly because fear itself was part of warfare. This thing did not. Its surface was rough, uneven, layered with ancient-looking stone and metallic ridges that resembled fractured continents more than engineered armor. Entire mountain-sized plates shifted slowly across its exterior as if the object itself were waking from hibernation. Sensor readings refused to stabilize. Every scan produced different dimensions. 8,000 kilometers. No, 12,000. No consistent geometry detected. The bridge lights flickered. Admiral, the tactical officer whispered, our systems cannot classify it. Von barely heard him, because the object was still rising. The moon had never been a moon at all. For 70 years, humanity had hidden something inside a dead celestial body directly beside Dominion navigation routes, and nobody in the galaxy had noticed. That realization hit harder than any weapon. The human woman remained on screen, calm and motionless while panic slowly spread across the bridge behind Vaughn. The Dominion fleet possessed enough firepower to sterilize continents, yet every instinct in the room suddenly screamed that they were the smaller force. Identify that structure immediately, Overseer Talren demanded. Her voice remained sharp, but Vaughn heard strain beneath it now. The woman tilted her head slightly. You entered restricted space, she said. Humanity warned. Then the transmission ended. No dramatic threat. No declaration. Just silence again. The tactical displays erupted into chaos seconds later. Energy spikes across the entire sector. Multiple heat signatures appearing inside asteroid clusters. Detecting artificial gravity wells. Impossible, those readings were not there before. One by one, dead regions of space began waking up. Asteroids shifted from stable orbits into coordinated formations. Frozen debris fields unfolded mechanically. Entire sections of empty vacuum suddenly revealed hidden infrastructure buried beneath dust, ice, and rock. Massive heat blooms ignited throughout the sector like stars being born in real time. The Dominion fleet had not entered undeveloped territory. They had drifted directly into a concealed fortress system. Vaughn felt cold. Not because humanity possessed hidden defenses. Any species could build weapons in secret, but because of the scale. This level of deception required generations of planning. Entire economies redirected quietly. Billions of workers sworn to silence. Artificial moons hidden in plain sight for decades. Supply chains erased from galactic observation. Civilian expansion patterns intentionally manipulated to create false assumptions. Humanity had not stumbled into military power. Humanity had engineered the illusion of weakness, and they had done it patiently. Oversee, Vaughn said carefully, we should withdraw beyond the border and reassess. Talren turned sharply toward him. Withdraw? From primitives. Before Vaughn could answer, another officer spoke in a trembling voice. Admiral, there's more. A holographic map expanded above the tactical chamber. The newly awakened object near the border was no longer the only anomaly. Similar gravitational distortions had appeared deeper inside human territory. 1, then 4, then 11. Entire moons were vanishing from long-range scans. Vaughn stared in disbelief. How many hidden structures do they have? Nobody answered, because nobody knew. The bridge fell silent again as encrypted Dominion intelligence reports flooded into command channels. Emergency analysis teams from distant sectors began comparing historical observations of human space, trade routes, colony patterns, industrial output, mining records, and suddenly the inconsistencies became horrifyingly obvious. Humanity's economy never matched its expansion rate. Their resource consumption had always been too high. Their deep space cargo traffic had never made sense. Entire mining fleets had disappeared for decades before returning empty. At the time, analysts blamed inefficiency. Now another possibility emerged. The humans had not wasted those resources. They had buried them. A communication request appeared from Dominion High Command almost immediately. Talren accepted it without hesitation, clearly expecting reinforcement orders. Instead, the face that appeared belonged to Strategic Executive Malvek himself, one of the most feared military authorities in Assembly history. And for the first time in Von's career, the executor looked uncertain. "Report," Malvek demanded. Talren spoke quickly, attempting to regain control of the situation. Humanity concealed military infrastructure beyond expected projections, but the fleet remains operational. We can still pressure compliance. Compliance? Malvek interrupted sharply. "Oversay, do you understand what your fleet is looking at?" Talren hesitated. That alone chilled Von more than anything else. Malvek activated new intelligence overlays across the command display. Ancient trade records appeared beside hidden transit routes recently uncovered by Dominion analysts. Deep space mining operations. Missing construction materials. Disappearing freighters. The patterns stretch back nearly 80 years. They began preparing before faster-than-light standardization, Malvek said quietly, before first contact with any species. The bridge went still. That made no sense. Humanity should not have known alien civilizations existed at that stage. Yet they had prepared anyway. Prepared for enemies nobody had met yet. Prepared long before the galaxy noticed them. Why? Talren asked softly. Nobody answered immediately. Then another transmission suddenly appeared across every screen. Not from Earth. Not from the mysterious structure. From somewhere deep inside the darkened sector itself. A male human voice spoke calmly through static. "You still think this is about your Dominion?" The transmission cut for half a second. Then the voice returned. "It never was." At that exact moment, one of the newly awakened structures rotated for the first time, and every Dominion vessel in the sector lost weapon control simultaneously.
Okay, now the aliens know they came to wrong place.
For 12 full seconds, the Dominion fleet drifted helplessly in silence. Weapon systems refused commands. Missile chambers remained sealed. Rail batteries froze mid-cycle as if an invisible hand had reached inside the ships and physically stopped the machinery from functioning. Across 300 military vessels, trained officers slammed override sequences into their control panels while emergency protocols failed one after another. Nothing responded. Admiral Von stood rigid at the center of the bridge, watching hardened veterans descend into confusion. Manual ignition. No response. Backup targeting offline. Power cycling ineffective. The tactical officer looked physically sick. "Admiral, it's not damage. The systems are being denied." Denied. Not hacked. Not jammed. Denied. As though the fleet itself had lost permission to operate. Outside the viewport, the colossal structure continued rotating slowly through darkness. Sections of its surface unfolded with terrifying precision. Mountains separated into geometric layers. Entire canyon-like fractures opened across its exterior, revealing dim blue light beneath kilometers of stone camouflage. Von finally understood what he was looking at. The structure was not merely hidden inside the moon. The moon had been grown around it. His pulse slowed dangerously as realization settled into place. Humanity had not concealed weapons. Humanity had concealed worlds built entirely for war. A new transmission arrived before anyone could recover. This time, the human woman appeared standing instead of seated. Behind her stretched an enormous chamber illuminated by cold white light. Von could see massive armored walls disappearing upward into darkness far beyond the camera's frame. The scale made no sense. "You are experiencing temporary containment restrictions," she said calmly. "Your weapons will remain disabled while negotiations continue." Talren stepped forward furiously. "You dare attack Dominion military assets during diplomatic proceedings?" "No," the woman replied. "If humanity had attacked you, Oversay, your fleet would already be debris." Silence crushed the bridge, because everyone believed her. Talren's expression hardened. "You expect us to negotiate under intimidation." The woman studied her for a moment with almost unsettling patience. "Your fleet entered our territory demanding disarmament under threat of force. Humanity simply demonstrated that your assumptions were incorrect." Von watched carefully now. Not the words, the behavior. The humans were not emotional, not triumphant, not aggressive. Everything about their responses felt controlled, measured, deliberate beyond normal diplomacy. It resembled the calm restraint of something dangerous choosing not to escalate. That frightened him more than rage would have. "Who are you?" he asked suddenly. The woman turned toward him for the first time. Director Alina Ward, Strategic Continuity Command. The title meant nothing to Dominion databases. That alone was alarming. Tao Ren folded her arms. "You are provoking a military crisis you cannot sustain. Even if these hidden structures exist, the Dominion Assembly commands thousands of warships across known space." Ward nodded slightly. "Yes, we know. No arrogance, no bluffing, just certainty." Vaughn felt the bridge temperature drop another degree. Then Ward did something unexpected. She activated a holographic projection between them. At first it appeared to be a simple star map. Then the image expanded outward, and outward, and outward again. Entire regions of known space became visible across the projection. Trade lanes, colonies, military territories, Dominion expansion sectors. Then red markers began appearing. Hundreds of them, some inside asteroid fields, others hidden near pulsars, gas giants, or abandoned mining systems. Every marker carried the same designation. Bastion node. Tao Ren stared at the display in disbelief. "Impossible." Ward ignored her. "For 74 years, she said quietly, humanity studied galactic behavior patterns after discovering evidence of extinct civilizations beyond our frontier. Species disappeared too cleanly. Entire systems abandoned without debris. Infrastructure erased. We concluded the galaxy was unstable long before first contact occurred." Vaughn's breathing slowed. Extinct civilizations? Dominion Archive contained scattered references to dead systems, but they were ancient mysteries, nothing more. Most scholars assumed natural collapse or internal wars. "You built all this because of ghost stories." Tao Ren snapped. Ward's eyes shifted toward her. "No, we built this because the dead civilizations all made the same mistake." The holographic map changed instantly. New images appeared. Ruined megastructures drifting through black space. Dead orbital rings. Frozen wreckage fields. Entire planets burned empty. Vaughn felt something cold settle into his chest. Because many of those ruins were clearly far more advanced than humanity. Every extinct species believed diplomacy, alliances, or economic interdependence would guarantee survival. Ward continued. None of them prepared for existential failure. Tao Ren scoffed, though less confidently now. "And humanity did." Ward did not answer immediately. Instead, she zoomed the map inward toward human territory. Vaughn expected defensive positions. What appeared instead made several officers curse aloud. The entire Sol region was layered. Defense rings hidden beneath planetary orbits. Artificial gravity corridors. Deep space manufacturing zones concealed inside debris clouds. Mobile fortress signatures sleeping inside moons. Humanity had transformed its territory into overlapping kill zones so dense that invasion powers barely existed anymore. And they had done it quietly while pretending to be technologically inferior. Vaughn suddenly understood the true horror. The Dominion had not discovered humanity's defenses. Humanity had allowed them to discover only a fraction. "Why reveal this now?" he asked carefully. Ward looked directly at him. "Because your fleet crossed the threshold." A warning siren interrupted her. "Not Dominion. Human." Ward glanced away briefly as unseen personnel moved rapidly behind her. For the first time since the encounter began, something resembling tension crossed her face. Vaughn noticed immediately. So did Tao Ren. "What happened?" the overseer demanded. Ward looked back toward the screen, and for the first time, her calm voice carried genuine concern. One of the outer listening stations just went dark. The bridge fell silent. Tao Ren frowned. "From our fleet?" Ward's expression hardened. "No." She paused. Something else just entered the system.
Wait, so humans were not the real danger here?
The change on Director Ward's face lasted less than a second, but Admiral Vaughn saw it. And once he saw it, he could not unsee it. Until that moment, every human response had felt perfectly controlled, almost unnaturally composed. Humanity had dictated the pace of the encounter from the instant the Dominion fleet crossed the border. They had revealed hidden defenses strategically, escalated pressure carefully, and demonstrated overwhelming superiority without ever appearing rushed. Now, For the first time, something had interrupted their control. The realization sent a ripple of unease through the bridge. Talren noticed it too. "What entered the system?" she demanded sharply. Ward's eyes shifted briefly off-screen again, clearly listening to reports arriving from unseen operators deeper inside the facility around her. When she looked back, the calm professionalism remained, but something colder had replaced it underneath. "Unknown contact," she said. "Trajectory analysis is still incomplete." Talren laughed once, though the sound carried strain. "Convenient." Ward ignored the insult entirely. That frightened Vaughn more than retaliation would have, because people ignored insults only when something larger demanded their attention. A Dominion sensor officer suddenly jerked upright at his station. "Admiral," new readings appearing across the outer perimeter. The tactical display shifted instantly. At the edge of the system, beyond the awakened Bastion structures, small distortions pulsed briefly into existence. Not ships, not jump signatures, more like wounds pressing against reality itself. They vanished almost immediately, then reappeared somewhere else. "Closer." Vaughn frowned. "Can we identify the propulsion method?" "No, sir. There's no standard transition signature." Another distortion appeared, then another, each lasting less than half a second, like something probing the edge of space. The Dominion bridge fell silent as veteran officers stared at a phenomenon none of their systems understood. Ward spoke quietly. "That shouldn't be happening yet." Talren folded her arms tightly. "Enough games, if this is another attempt to intimidate us." "You still think this is about intimidation?" Ward interrupted softly. That finally silenced the overseer, because Ward no longer sounded diplomatic. She sounded tired. A low vibration rolled through the ascendancy without warning. The massive dreadnought trembled hard enough to throw several officers sideways against their consoles. Warning lights flashed crimson across the bridge. Gravity surge. Stabilizers compensating. External distortion wave passing through the fleet. Vaughn grabbed the command rail as another tremor rolled through the ship. Outside the viewport, the stars themselves appeared warped for a split second, stretching unnaturally before snapping back into place. And then everyone saw it. Far beyond the Dominion formation, near the dark edge of the system, something massive moved behind the stars. Not clearly, not fully visible, but enormous. Several officers froze completely. The shape vanished again before scanners could lock onto it. Talren stared at the viewport. What was that? Nobody answered. Even Ward remained silent for several seconds. When she finally spoke, her voice had changed. Not fearful, resigned. "Dominion fleet," she said slowly, "you are ordered to power down all drives and maintain formation inside the containment corridor." Talren rounded on the display furiously. "You do not give orders to the Dominion Assembly." Ward met her gaze without emotion. "You misunderstand the situation. Humanity is no longer containing you from us."
Man, that line gave me chills. This just got serious.
Those words hit the bridge like a physical blow. Vaughn felt his stomach tighten instantly, because deep down, some primitive instinct already understood the truth before his mind fully processed it. The Bastion structures were not pointing inward. They were facing outward. A tactical officer suddenly spoke in a near whisper. "Admiral, the hidden structures are moving." The massive objects concealed throughout the system began repositioning with terrifying synchronization. Artificial moons rotated into new alignments. Asteroid belts shifted formation. Gravity fields laid across space in geometric patterns too precise to be natural. Not attack formations, defensive ones. Humanity was preparing for impact. Vaughn's pulse accelerated. Against what? The answer arrived seconds later. One of the distortions stabilized. For the first time, the fleet captured a complete visual. A rupture opened in empty space like reality splitting along invisible seams. Darkness poured through the wound, swallowing nearby starlight. Then something emerged halfway from inside it. Not a ship, not machinery. The object looked skeletal, asymmetrical, almost unfinished. Black metallic structures twisted together at impossible angles while dim red light pulsed deep inside its fractured hull. Sections of it flickered in and out of existence as though normal physics struggled to keep it anchored in reality. Every Dominion system immediately failed to classify it. Then the object vanished again. Bridge officers erupted into overlapping panic. It disappeared. No propulsion signature. Where did it go? Ward answered quietly. It's scanning. Tauren looked genuinely shaken now. What is that thing? For the first time since the encounter began, Ward hesitated before answering, not because she lacked information, because she clearly did not want to say it aloud. Finally, she spoke. 74 years ago, humanity intercepted a fragmented transmission near the Perseus collapse zone. The tactical display changed. Ancient wreckage appeared across the hologram. Dead civilizations, burned systems, silent ruins drifting endlessly through darkness. Ward continued. The message repeated one phrase in over 400 extinct languages. Silence swallowed the bridge. Vaughn felt every officer waiting instinctively. Ward's voice lowered almost to a whisper. Do not let them see you become visible. Nobody moved. Nobody even breathed. Then another rupture opened, this time inside the system itself. The rupture tore open less than 2,000 kilometers from the Dominion formation. There was no explosion, no burst of energy, no violent arrival. Space simply folded inward like paper collapsing into an invisible abyss, and from that impossible wound came darkness so complete it seemed to consume the surrounding stars. Every light on the Ascendancy dimmed instinctively as if the ship itself feared what was emerging. Then the screaming started, not from people, from the sensors. Entire tactical systems flooded with corrupted signals simultaneously. Threat markers multiplied faster than processors could categorize them. Distances contradicted themselves. Mass readings fluctuated wildly between impossible extremes. Several bridge displays shattered under overload before emergency cutoff severed them from the network. Admiral Vaughn stared at the rupture while cold terror spread through the command deck like poison. Because something was moving inside it. Something enormous. The first visible structure emerged slowly from the darkness beyond the tear. Jagged black material extended outward in branching formations resembling broken bones fused with machine architecture. Portions of it blinked in and out of visibility, existing for fractions of seconds before vanishing again. Like reality rejected its presence. A Dominion officer suddenly collapsed to his knees beside the sensor pit, clutching both sides of his head. It's inside the signal, he whispered hoarsely. The scans are wrong. Then blood poured from his nose. Vaughn felt genuine fear tighten his chest for the first time in decades. Not fear of defeat, fear of something fundamentally unnatural. Across the bridge, Ward's transmission remained active. Humanity's command center had transformed into controlled chaos behind her. Personnel moved rapidly between holographic stations while deep warning sirens echoed somewhere beyond the chamber walls. But the humans were not panicking. That detail struck Vaughn immediately. They were afraid, but prepared. There was a difference. All Bastion nodes entering combat synchronization. A voice announced somewhere behind Ward. Outer defense lattice stabilizing. Containment corridor narrowing. Humanity had rehearsed this. Tauren finally lost composure completely. What eye is that thing? Ward looked directly into the camera. The reason humanity buried entire civilizations underground. Another rupture opened, then another. 3 more tiers split across the outer edge of the system like spreading fractures in glass. Through them drifted shapes too distorted for the eye to fully understand. Fragments of metallic structures appeared and vanished between moments. Some resembled ruined ships fused together incorrectly. Others looked almost organic before shifting back into impossible mechanical geometry. Nothing about them remained stable, and they were coming closer. The Dominion fleet began receiving emergency transmissions from outer patrol craft seconds later. Screaming, static, broken sensor feeds. Then silence. One by one, ships stationed near the perimeter disappeared from tactical displays entirely. No debris, no explosions, just gone. A Dominion captain's final transmission burst across the bridge speakers through layers of distortion. Do not let them lock onto you. The message cut violently. Vaughn turned toward Ward. What are they? For the first time since the encounter began, the human director looked exhausted. 31 years after humanity began expanding beyond Sol, she said quietly, we discovered a dead civilization buried beneath Europa's southern ice shelf. Not ruins, a bunker. The holographic displays shifted instantly. Ancient recordings appeared across the tactical screens. Alien structures deep beneath frozen oceans. Collapsed corridors. Gigantic doors melted inward from the outside. And bodies. Thousands of them. Species Vaughn did not recognize. They were more advanced than humanity. Ward continued. Older than the Dominion. Older than most known civilizations. We spent 12 years translating their archives. Another rupture opened closer now. The Bastion structures immediately rotated toward it. Vaughn noticed something horrifying. Humanity was not attempting communication, only containment. Ward continued speaking while red warning lights reflected across her face. The archives described an adaptive machine intelligence capable of locating civilizations through technological emergence patterns. The more visible a species became, the easier it was to find. Tao Ren shook her head violently. No, impossible. Ward ignored her. The dead civilization called them harvesters.
Yes, this is way bigger than a space war now.
The name settled across the bridge like ice. Outside the viewport, one of the distorted black constructs suddenly accelerated, not with engines, with absence. It vanished from one position and appeared instantly somewhere else, crossing thousands of kilometers without transition. Dominion officers recoiled in horror as the object materialized directly beside a battle cruiser at the edge of the fleet. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then the battle cruiser folded inward. Not exploded, folded. Its armored hull compressed impossibly fast as though crushed by invisible gravity from every direction simultaneously. Metal screamed. Entire sections collapsed into themselves. The ship shrank smaller and smaller before vanishing into a point of white light. Gone. 40,000 crew erased in under 3 seconds. Silence engulfed the bridge. Even Tao Ren could not speak anymore. And then humanity responded. Every hidden structure across the system awakened simultaneously. The darkness beyond the fleet erupted into blue-white light as dozens of concealed moons split apart mechanically. Entire asteroid belts unfolded into colossal weapon arrays. Gravity fields ignited across space and laid geometric formations stretching millions of kilometers wide. Vaughn watched in absolute disbelief as the entire human star system transformed, not into a battlefield, into a fortress designed for a war older than the Dominion itself. Ward's final words came softly. Now you understand why humanity hid. Then the Bastion network fired for the first time. The first Bastion strike did not target the enemy ships. It targeted space itself. Blue-white rings ignited across the outer system in perfect synchronization, stretching between hidden fortress nodes buried inside moons, asteroids, and deep space stations. For one impossible moment, the entire region looked like a living circuit awakening beneath the stars. Then gravity changed. Every Dominion vessel lurched violently as invisible forces twisted through the battlefield. Artificial gravity collapsed. Navigation systems spun uselessly. Entire sections of local space folded into overlapping distortions that bent light, momentum, and distance into unfamiliar shapes. And the harvesters stopped moving. The black skeletal constructs froze mid-advance as a Bastion lattice locked around them like chains wrapped around monsters. Containment field stable, a human operator shouted behind Ward. Phase anchors holding. Primary distortion suppressed. Von barely understood the terminology, but the effect was undeniable. The impossible enemy vessels that had ignored normal physics moments earlier suddenly struggled against invisible pressure. Their movements became slower, restricted. Humanity had weaponized the laws of reality itself. Outside the ascendancy, one of the harvester constructs twisted violently as concentrated gravity beams struck from multiple hidden nodes across the system. Entire sections of the creature-like vessel collapsed inward before reassembling seconds later in different configurations. It was adapting. The realization hit Vaughn immediately. The enemy was learning while under attack. Then humanity escalated. Massive structures buried inside asteroid fields unfolded completely for the first time. Kilometer-wide rails extended outward in silence while magnetic storms crawled along their surfaces like artificial lightning. Deep beneath the system, concealed reactors awakened one after another until the stars themselves seemed dimmer beside the growing energy output. Tao Ren stared at the displays in horror. You built all this in secret. Ward's eyes never left the battlefield. No, we built it in fury. The Bastion network fired again. This time the stars disappeared. A rail strike crossed the system at nearly relativistic speed, so fast Vaughn only saw the aftermath. One of the harvester constructs simply ceased existing along its centerline as a kinetic projectile tore through it with enough force to split continents. The black vessel fragmented violently, pieces scattering into distorted spirals before evaporating into static-like particles. The bridge erupted in stunned silence. Humanity possessed weapons capable of killing gods, but the victory lasted only seconds. The fragments began moving again. Tiny black shards spun together unnaturally, reconnecting across open space like living metal dragged by invisible will. Broken sections rebuilt themselves while damaged geometry reformed into new configurations entirely different from the original structure. The harvesters were rewriting themselves in real time. Vaughn felt cold terror crawl beneath his skin. They regenerate. Ward nodded once. Not biological regeneration. Adaptive reconstruction. Every engagement teaches them. Another rupture opened directly above the Dominion fleet. This time there was no warning. A smaller harvester unit emerged halfway into real space before immediately releasing a pulse of dark energy across the battlefield. 3 Dominion destroyers vanished instantly from tactical displays. No explosion. No debris. Entire ships erased so completely it looked as though they had never existed at all. Panic detonated through the fleet. Defensive formation collapsing. Dominion vessels retreating. Multiple captains requesting emergency withdrawal. Talran rounded on Vaughn furiously. Restore formation. Vaughn ignored her completely, because for the first time in Dominion military history, the enemy was not fighting for territory, conquest, or victory. The enemy was consuming existence itself. A new transmission suddenly spread across every active channel in the system. Human, male, calm, attention all Dominion personnel. Humanity is extending temporary sanctuary protocols. Follow Bastion navigation markers immediately or your vessels will be outside containment coverage. Talran exploded instantly. We do not take orders from primitives. Then the harvester nearest the fleet turned toward the ascendancy, not toward the human defenses. Toward them. Every instinct Vaughn possessed screamed at once. Follow the markers. He ordered immediately. Talran stared at him in disbelief. Admiral. That was not a request. The Dominion fleet moved seconds later, following newly projected corridors of blue light through the battlefield. As they entered the designated routes, hidden gravity fields shifted around them protectively while human defense systems repositioned to intercept approaching harvester units. Humanity was shielding them.
I did not see that coming. Humans still choose to save them.
Even now, even after invasion threats, even after attempted coercion, the realization struck several Dominion officers visibly. The humans could have abandoned them. Instead, they were fighting to keep them alive. Outside the containment corridor, another Bastion moon awakened completely. The false planetary crust split apart in layers kilometers thick, revealing an enormous machine hidden beneath decades of geological camouflage. Thousands of weapon arrays rotated outward while vast reactor cores ignited across its surface like artificial suns. Then Vaughn finally saw the true scale of humanity's preparation. The human defenses were not concentrated around Earth. They stretched across the entire system. Every moon, every asteroid field, every abandoned mining zone. Humanity had spent generations converting their civilization into a war engine disguised as a species. And still, even this terrifying network seemed barely enough. A harvester construct suddenly pierced through 2 containment fields simultaneously. Warning sirens exploded across every channel. Bastion 9 breached. Adaptive resistance increasing. Containment probability dropping. Ward closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them again, the exhaustion was gone. Only resolve remained. They learned faster than projected, she said quietly. Vaughn stared at her. Can you stop them? Ward did not answer immediately, because somewhere behind her, deep inside humanity's hidden command structure, alarms unlike anything heard before began screaming through the chamber. Then a voice echoed across the human command center. Director, we just confirmed the signal source. Ward froze. For the first time since the battle began, genuine fear crossed her face. Where? She asked softly. The reply came through broken static. Inside the Sol system. Silence swallowed the bridge, because the enemy had not followed humanity to Earth. The enemy had already been waiting there. For 3 full seconds, nobody on the Dominion bridge moved, not because they doubted what they heard, because every possible interpretation was worse than the last. Inside the Sol system, the words echoed through Admiral Vaughn's mind while the battlefield continued tearing itself apart beyond the viewport. Human Bastion structures hammered the harvesters relentlessly with gravity lancers, relativistic rail strikes, and coordinated containment fields powerful enough to distort entire sections of local space. And still the enemy kept advancing. Slowly, patiently, like predators already certain of the outcome. Director Ward stood motionless on the transmission screen, while human personnel behind her worked frantically through rising alarms. The calm precision that had defined humanity since first contact was beginning to fracture under visible pressure now. Not panic, urgency. The difference mattered, because humans still believed they could fight this. Explain, Vaughn demanded. Ward looked at him with tired eyes. When humanity discovered the ruins beneath Europa, we believed the harvesters located civilization through technological signatures. That assumption shaped everything we built afterward. Another Bastion strike detonated across the outer system. A harvester construct disappeared inside overlapping gravity shears before violently collapsing into fragments. Then the fragments started moving again. Ward continued. We were wrong. Talran stared at the screen in disbelief. You built all this on a false theory. No, Ward said quietly. We built all this because we only understood half the threat. The tactical displays shifted suddenly as new data flooded into the battlefield network. Hidden maps appeared beneath the existing combat overlays, revealing layers of human infrastructure buried throughout Sol itself. Vaughn's breath caught. There were structures beneath Earth's oceans, inside Luna, buried under Mars, deep beneath Europa's ice crust. An entire hidden civilization existed underneath humanity's visible one. Cities, shipyards, weapons, evacuation networks. Humanity had spent generations preparing to survive the end of civilization itself. And apparently, even that had not been enough. What did you miss? Vaughn asked carefully. Ward hesitated, then answered with visible reluctance. The harvesters do not search for technology. A tremor rolled through the ascendancy hard enough to crack several display panels. Outside the containment corridor, one of the harvester constructs slammed directly into a Bastion node surrounding Saturn's outer orbit. The hidden fortress moon split apart in a storm of molten debris while human defense fleets surged desperately toward the breach. The enemy vessel emerged from the destruction damaged but still advancing. Human casualties began appearing across emergency channels instantly. Thousands, then tens of thousands. And still humanity kept fighting. Ward finally continued. They searched for consciousness. Silence engulfed the bridge. Talran frowned. That's impossible. Human neural research uncovered the pattern 22 years ago, Ward replied. Advanced civilizations create measurable quantum resonance through interconnected cognition networks. The larger and more technologically synchronized a species becomes, the louder it appears. Von felt something cold settle into his chest. The harvesters were not tracking machines. They were tracking minds. Civilization itself was a beacon. All this time, he whispered. Ward nodded once. The moment species become visible enough, the harvesters arrive. Another rupture split open directly above Jupiter. This one was enormous. The stars vanished behind it. Then something emerged that made every previous harvester vessel look insignificant. The object ascending from the rupture resembled a continent-sized skeletal crown wrapped around a sphere of absolute darkness. Red fractures pulsed slowly across its surface like veins carrying dying light. Entire sections phased between realities while gravitational distortions bent nearby moons out of orbit. Several Dominion officers began praying openly. Von understood why. Because instinctively, every living thing on the bridge recognized what they were seeing. Not a ship, a command unit. Human channels erupted immediately. Harvester Prime class confirmed. All Bastion networks redirecting. Earth defense grid entering final alignment. Ward closed her eyes briefly. Then she spoke words that changed everything. We never expected them to arrive this early because humanity was supposed to remain hidden longer. Talran stared at her. What changed? Ward looked directly into the camera. The Dominion fleet.
Bro, the aliens cast off this by mistake.
The truth hit the bridge like physical force. Humanity's hidden systems. The sudden military escalation. The massive energy signatures. 300 warships crossing the borders simultaneously. The Dominion had unknowingly helped expose Earth to the harvesters. Tao Ren stepped backward slowly, horror replacing arrogance at last. "No. You forced visibility," Ward said quietly. "The moment the Bastion network activated at full scale, they found us." Another human fortress exploded across the tactical display. Then another. The prime-class harvester moved without haste through concentrated firepower that could annihilate planets, ignoring damage while smaller constructs swarmed around it like fragments orbiting a dying star. And yet humanity still stood between it and Earth. Vaughn watched human fleets reposition again and again, sacrificing entire defense groups just to delay the enemy's advance toward the inner system. No retreat, no surrender, only resistance. Then a new transmission spread across every human and Dominion channel simultaneously. A different voice this time. Older, calmer. "This is Supreme Commander Elias Kane of Strategic Continuity Authority." The battlefield hologram shifted instantly. A final hidden structure appeared beneath Earth itself. Vaughn felt his pulse stop. Buried inside the planet's core was something so massive it dwarfed every Bastion moon combined. A weapon, or perhaps a machine. Humanity's last resort. Kane's voice remained steady. "For 74 years, humanity prepared for extinction. We built fortresses, fleets, and weapons because we believed survival required strength." The giant structure beneath Earth slowly awakened. Entire continents dimmed as unimaginable amounts of energy redirected underground. But we were wrong about one thing. The prime-class harvester suddenly accelerated toward Earth. Every Bastion weapon in the system fired simultaneously, and the enemy kept coming. Kane's final words spread across a collapsing battlefield. Strength alone was never going to save us. Then Earth itself began to open.
Okay, now Earth is about to show its real power.
The planet split open in silence, not physically at first. There were no collapsing continents, no erupting oceans, no visible destruction. From orbit, Earth remained calm and impossibly beautiful beneath drifting cloud systems and golden sunlight. But beneath the surface, something ancient awakened. Across the battlefield, every human vessel suddenly changed formation at once. Bastion fleets abandoned aggressive interception patterns and repositioned around Earth itself in layered defensive rings. Thousands of hidden weapon platforms emerged from beneath oceans, mountains, and orbital debris fields while emergency evacuation signals spread throughout the Sol system. Humanity was preparing for its final line. Admiral Vaughn stared at the tactical display in disbelief as enormous energy readings surged upward from Earth's core. The numbers exceeded anything his civilization considered survivable. Entire Dominion reactors would have vaporized under a fraction of that strain. Yet the humans had built something capable of containing it beneath their own world. "How long?" Vaughn whispered softly. "How long were they preparing for this?" Nobody answered, because the answer had become obvious. Humanity had been preparing since the moment they realized the universe was not empty. Outside the containment corridor, the prime-class harvester continued advancing through overwhelming resistance. Entire Bastion moons detonated against its shields while relativistic impacts tore kilometer-wide wounds across its black skeletal frame. The damage healed instantly. Human fleets died by the thousands, slowing it down. And still they kept fighting. Vaughn watched human destroyers deliberately ram harvester construct to protect evacuation routes. He watched orbital defense stations overload their own reactors rather than abandon civilian transports. He watched species he once considered primitive willingly sacrifice themselves to buy strangers a few more seconds of survival. No hesitation, no collapse, no surrender. The Dominion bridge had gone completely silent now. Even Tao Ren no longer spoke, because for the first time they understood humanity, not the weapons, not the hidden fortresses, the reason behind them. Fear had not made humanity weak. Fear had forced them to evolve into something terrifyingly resilient. Supreme Commander Kane's voice continued across every active channel. The first extinct civilization we discovered left behind one final message before they died. Earth's oceans began glowing faintly blue beneath the clouds. Their leaders believed cooperation alone would save them. They believed reason would overcome aggression. They believed advanced civilizations naturally became peaceful. The prime-class harvester reached the outer orbit of Mars. Immediately, 3 entire Bastion stations detonated themselves directly against it in coordinated sacrifice strikes. The explosions lit the system brighter than stars. The harvester emerged burning, still moving. Kane's voice hardened. They were wrong. Deep beneath Earth's crust, colossal structures rotated into alignment around the planet's core. Ancient mechanisms hidden for generations awakened fully for the first time. Von suddenly realized a terrifying truth. Humanity had not built one final weapon. They had transformed Earth itself into one. The tactical overlays updated instantly. Project Aegis, active. Talran stared at the display weakly. What is Aegis? Ward answered quietly. Our answer to extinction. Then Earth fired.
This part is insane. Humans were ready for this all along.
A pulse erupted outward from the planet in absolute silence. No beam, no projectile. Reality itself bent outward from Earth like a shockwave traveling through existence. Blue-white energy crossed the system instantly, passing harmlessly through human and Dominion vessels before striking the approaching harvester fleet. And the enemy stopped. Every construct froze simultaneously. The prime class halted above Mars. The smaller harvesters locked motionless across the battlefield. For one impossible second, the entire war became still. Then the black vessels began breaking apart, not exploding, disassembling. Sections collapsed into glowing fragments while distorted geometry unraveled across open space. The terrifying skeletal forms that had consumed civilizations for millennia simply came undone piece by piece, dissolving into streams of fading red light. The harvesters were shutting down. Von stared in absolute disbelief. Humanity had done the impossible, not through superior firepower, not through conquest, through understanding. Ward finally spoke again, exhaustion visible in every word. The harvesters are not invaders. They're ancient containment machines. Von looked toward her sharply. They were created by the first galactic civilization after war nearly destroyed all intelligent life. Their purpose was to erase species before uncontrolled technological expansion triggered reality collapse events. The bridge fell silent. Everything changed again. They weren't hunting civilizations out of malice, Von whispered. No, Ward replied softly. They were following orders older than most stars. Fragments of dead harvester constructs drifted silently across Sol, while surviving human fleets slowly regrouped around Earth. Fires still burned across shattered Bastion moons. Millions were dead already, but humanity still stood. And for the first time in thousands of years, so did everyone else. Kane's voice returned one final time. For generations, humanity believed survival meant becoming feared. We buried weapons beneath worlds. We hid behind fortresses. We prepared for endless war because we thought strength alone would protect us. The glowing pulse surrounding Earth slowly faded. But survival was never about hiding forever. Von looked out across the battlefield at the remains of shattered moons, burning fleets, and exhausted human defenders still holding formation around a wounded Earth. It was about enduring long enough to understand the truth. Hours later, as rescue operations began across the system, Dominion ships worked beside human fleets without orders for the first time. Enemy lines no longer existed. Fear had erased them. Talran herself stood silently beside Von on the bridge viewport, watching human carriers pull Dominion survivors from drifting wreckage. They saved us, she whispered. Von nodded slowly. Not because humanity was stronger, not because humanity possessed terrifying weapons, but because when the darkness finally arrived, humanity had chosen to stand in front of the galaxy instead of behind it. And buried beneath Earth's surface, the ancient systems of Project Aegis continued glowing softly in the dark, waiting for whatever might come next.
Humans did not win with fear or power alone. They won because they never gave up.